I had finally managed to train the heroine from that old novel, Jiang Bin, into a normal person and was thinking of quickly leaving this world. Back then, her eyes were red, and she desperately wouldn't let me leave. I hugged her and coaxed her, saying I had to go. "I'll go buy you strawberries." Then I disappeared. Who would have thought that 3 years later, I'd transmigrate back again? The pitiful Bai Ningbing from before is now a big sister in the underworld, a powerful figure who controls everything. The moment she saw me, she grabbed my wrist and forcefully threw me onto the bed. Then she wrapped a tie around me, circle after circle, and softly questioned, "The strawberries you owe me from 3 years ago. Tonight, do you want them planted on your neck or your face?" I closed my eyes and opened them, then closed and opened them again, repeatedly confirming. Before my eyes was still the familiar North City. At the entrance of a 5-star hotel, luxury cars arrived one after another, and there were many people. Flashbulbs kept flashing click-clack. Everyone was preparing for the Bai Corporation's annual meeting tonight. I was stunned then, my heart only screaming, "Damn it!" Then I squatted in a corner, not daring to move. Just then the system started urging me, "Hurry and find the heroine." "Host, what are you squatting there for? Hatching eggs?" I exploded when I heard that. "Hatching eggs? Hatch your head. Didn't we agree that once the mission was complete, I'd be done? Why did you bring me back again?" 3 years ago, to break up with her, I practically rode on Bai Ningbing's face to humiliate her. "And you want me to go find her? Why don't you just let me die?" The system, still self-righteous, said, "Who can you blame? Isn't it because you didn't do your mission well? You only left 3 years ago and Bai Ningbing went crazy again. If not you, who should we call back? If you don't find a solution soon, forget the male lead. This entire world will be destroyed by her." I was so angry I couldn't speak. A few years ago, I took on a commission to transmigrate into an old novel. The mission was to cure that crazy heroine, train her well, and then return her to the male lead. That would be mission accomplished. But what happened? I had only left for 3 years, and she actually went dark again. And it was the kind of darkness where she'd destroy the world at the drop of a hat. So it summoned me back again. I was squatting there, lost in thought. The system suddenly shrieked, "Host, look quickly! The target has appeared." I looked up. Under the brilliant starlight, the spotlight followed like flowing water, all the way to the entrance. A driver in white gloves went to open the car door. The girl who stepped out was expressionless, wearing high heels and a small evening dress. Her calves were fair and slender. Her aura was incredibly powerful. She walked straight into the venue. Her assistant followed cautiously behind her. I didn't dare to breathe. Isn't that Bai Ningbing? 3 years later, she looked much more mature, but her aura was even colder. Someone nearby whispered, "She's the current president of the Bai Corporation? Oh my God. She's so beautiful. Why doesn't she become a female celebrity?" "Don't talk nonsense. She was originally an illegitimate daughter. I heard she used ruthless and shady methods, killed many executives, to get to her current position." "What female celebrity?" Listening, I quickly and carefully shrank back. Just then, in the next second, a scorching gaze pierced through the crowd and shot over, landing on me. Bai Ningbing suddenly turned her head. Her eyes, like knives, stared directly at me. The assistant quickly asked, "President Bai, shall we go?" My heart tightened. I nervously swallowed and quickly lowered my head. Bai Ningbing paused for a few seconds. Her lips slightly twisted, and she said, "It's nothing." With that, she took long strides and walked into the banquet hall without looking back. Just then, the system cursed me in my mind. "You good for nothing. You're still not going to acknowledge her? How long do you plan to wait?" I rubbed my nose and mumbled, "Just a little longer. She looks too fierce right now. I feel like she could just slap me. She's much fiercer than when I left 3 years ago." 3 years ago, the male lead was about to appear, and my mission was complete, so I could leave. To help me get away, the system created a fake identity for me and made up a fake reason, saying my parents went bankrupt, and I had to go abroad to hide. At the airport, Bai Ningbing wouldn't let me leave. She held my hand, her eyes red, asking again and again, "How much money do you want? How much money do your parents owe people exactly?" I really couldn't break free. I even hugged her, coaxing her, "Just pretend I went on a long trip to buy you strawberries." Okay, back then she wasn't this scary. Now why does she always emit a murderous aura? Just like those two passersby said, Bai Ningbing. The heroine of this story is an illegitimate daughter from a wealthy family. Her father is a prominent official in Beijing. Due to an accident, he had a child with his assistant. The assistant didn't want him to take responsibility. She resigned, carried the child, and returned to her hometown. She gave birth to Bai Ningbing in her hometown. But not long after, the assistant fell ill and passed away. Bai Ningbing's true identity was thus exposed. There was no other way. She could only return to Beijing to find her father. Only then was she recognized by the wealthy family. I pondered to myself, isn't this the modern wealthy family version of Xia Ziwei? But how could she be as lucky as Ziwei? Not a single person in the entire Bai family looked favorably upon her. Her relatives wouldn't let her eat at the table. The brothers in the family also ostracized and bullied her. Even the nannies could scold her, making her fight for food like a dog. So when I transmigrated and encountered her, she was being pinned in a corner by 5 older sisters from her relative's family, beating her. I used a really big firecracker to scare away that group of little brats. Then I pulled Bai Ningbing up from the snow and asked her, "Did you hit your head?" On Bai Ningbing's face, emotional wounds were layered with physical ones. She was still clutching snow in her hand. She was expressionless, holding the snow and not speaking. At that time, she was only a teenager. On such a cold day, her down jacket was soaked with water. Her neck was full of cold, wet snow, but her calmness was frightening. I thought for a moment and said, "I'm the new neighbor, Robin. My parents and your father are business partners. Do you want to come to my house and change your clothes?" I don't know which word she heard, but Bai Ningbing slowly, she finally turned her head to look at me. Her gaze, oh my goodness! Her eyes were cold and distant, like a knife hidden in the darkness. I was slightly stunned then, and my hand unconsciously let go. Her expression was very cold. She just spat out one word, "Scram!" After that, I began the long journey of winning her over. And let me tell you, this girl, Bai Ningbing, was really hard to win over. To get closer to her, I simply transferred to her school, and even ended up in the same class as her. Only then did I realize that the weak, easily bullied facade she showed her family was half an act. In reality, her grades were excellent, and she was incredibly good at fighting. She could rally a group of followers with a single call and beat anyone who dared to challenge her into submission. At the time, I was quite relieved. I thought to myself, that's great. This girl knows how to protect herself. But then the system cursed at me. Great, my foot. In a few years, she'll be killing people. Oh, right, then I remembered. My mission was to prevent her from developing an antisocial personality. So I started thinking of ways to soften her. When the teacher formed study groups, and she was alone, I immediately ran over, grabbed her hand, and said, "Student Bai, can I join you?" During the spring outing, the teacher warned everyone not to go off alone. She was alone again. I still quickly ran over and said, "Student Bai, come with me. I'm super awesome. I can fight kangaroos. You definitely won't regret coming with me." At first, Bai Ningbing completely ignored me. Later, when I annoyed her too much, she would just throw a few words at me like, "Fine, go play with me." I didn't really mind. If I couldn't change her in a day or two, that was fine. There was still plenty of time anyway. It would be a long time until she took back the Bai family, met the male lead, and then completely darkened. There was still a long time. I had all the time in the world. So year after year, through winter and summer, I followed her like a shadow. With me there, she wasn't pinned to the ground and beaten by those sisters in her family. No one stepped on her face anymore. No teachers at school falsely accused her of stealing, or publicly shamed her for being born of a mother but raised without one. Later, when she started her own business, I helped her block those drugged drinks, avoiding scandalous headlines and family humiliation. She took back the company, and her career slowly got on track. Logically, all she had to do next was get together with the male lead, and they would live happily ever after. But how did she still become so dark? Squatting on the ground, I couldn't figure it out no matter how hard I thought. My legs went numb from squatting, and my stomach was rumbling. I decided to sneak into the venue first to find something to eat. Today was the Bai Corporation's annual gala. Bai Ningbing was seated at the main table. Everyone toasted her round after round. She occasionally showed courtesy by clinking glasses, but most of the time she didn't drink. Through the crowd, I saw her indifferent expression from afar. I thought to myself, rather absent-mindedly, muttering, "She's already taken back the Bai Corporation. She won't be bullied anymore. So why can't she be happy?" The system replied, "How would I know? You go ask her." I didn't move, but I saw an intern walk over. The young man looked so fresh and green, holding a glass of red wine with both hands. He approached Bai Ningbing and said, "President Bai, I'm a new intern this year. I'm Uncle Zhao's son. Do you still remember me? I'd like to toast you." Bai Ningbing paused. She paused for a moment before turning around. With no trace of a smile in her eyes, she asked, "Uncle Zhao's son? At last year's birthday banquet, we met." Bai Ningbing cut him off directly. I don't remember anyone ugly." The young man instantly froze on the spot. I couldn't help but shake my head and sigh. It's been 3 years since we last met, and she's still so sharp-tongued. But then again, where did the male lead go? Why isn't she with the male lead? The system didn't respond. Just in the next second, the intern named Zhao lost his balance. He stumbled, and the red wine all spilled onto Bai Ningbing. Bai Ningbing reacted quickly, immediately reaching out to shield her left wrist. Seeing this, everyone around gasped. The assistant quickly stepped forward and pulled the intern away. Cautiously, he said to Bai Ningbing, "President Bai, are you all right?" He didn't do it on purpose. "How about I accompany you to change your clothes?" Bai Ningbing glanced at the intern. Her face darkened, but she didn't say anything. She followed the assistant without a word. At this point, the tense atmosphere in the venue finally livened up again. I was puzzled. Why did she cover her left hand? A passerby heard me muttering and kindly told me Mr. Bai's husband gave her a string of prayer beads. I heard they're Buddhist beads. She treasures them greatly. She always wears them and doesn't let anyone touch them. She used to have an assistant who was careless. He accidentally splashed some water on the prayer beads. She almost choked him to death. I was just nibbling on a small cake. When I heard that, I froze on the spot. Her husband? But the prayer beads on her wrist, I was the one who gave them to her. I figured either this passerby was mistaken, or the prayer beads she was wearing now were not the ones I gave her at all. I sat in the venue pondering the matter and angrily ate 10 strawberry cupcakes. Once I was full, I casually stopped an employee wearing an ID badge. I asked, "Does your company have a guy named Wu Ai-kun?" When the passerby heard the name, their expression became a little strange. They just shook their head, said they hadn't seen him, and hurried away. I stopped a second person and asked the same question. "Have you seen Wu Ai-kun?" The person's face was conflicted. It seemed like they wanted to say something but held it back. In the end, they also shook their head. No. I asked 5 people in a row and they all said they hadn't seen him. This was really strange. In the original novel, the male lead was named Wu Ai-kun. He should have been the future son-in-law of the Bai family by now. 3 years ago, he should have met Bai Ningbing, and the two of them should have fallen deeply in love quickly. So why had no one seen him? I pondered this while stuffing the 11th strawberry cupcake into my mouth. As I was eating, the lights in the hall suddenly dimmed. The host walked onto the stage, a smile on his face. He announced loudly, "Our President Bai is in a good mood today and wants to play a game with everyone. Now, please everyone in the audience close your eyes first. I'll count to 15 seconds, then everyone can open your eyes. How about that?" The light was so dim. I didn't know what trick they were playing, but the women around me closed their eyes one after another. I hesitated for a moment, then closed my eyes as well. Just in the next second, I suddenly felt a particularly familiar presence beside me. It stopped. Then a hand suddenly gripped my wrist. I heard Bai Ningbing say word by word, "Yuan, is that you? Have you come back?" Her warm breath was right against my ear as she spoke. My heart skipped a beat. My body reacted faster than my mind, and I instantly recognized her scent. My first instinct was to run, muttering, "It's not me," but I struggled for a moment, unable to break free. Immediately after, an overwhelming wave of warm breath enveloped me. Bai Ningbing buried her face directly into my chest. Her arms wrapped around my waist, holding me tightly. She called out Yuan again. The lights were dim. I could hear a slight tremor in her voice, saying, "Don't move. Let me hold you for a while." I froze instantly. My mind went blank and I panicked immediately. I quickly reached out to push her, saying, "No, Bai Ningbing. Snap out of it. Your boyfriend is watching." Actually, I had no idea where that boyfriend, who was supposed to be with her, was at this moment. The next second, I felt a damp warmth on the skin where we touched. She actually pulled open my collar and kissed my neck. Then, like a vampire, she even took a small bite. She said Yuan again. At this point, the hint of vulnerability in her voice was completely gone. She continued, "Now no one dares to mention the word boyfriend in front of me. Everyone in the Bai family knows I only have one husband, who is simply missing." Her finger traced downwards, and she asked in a low voice, "Are you bringing this up because you want me to kill you tonight?" At that moment, I was like a corpse, too scared to move. My mind raced. What does she mean by this? It's been 3 years since we last met. Why is Bai Ningbing talking about killing and fighting? And life or death matters again? Those 15 seconds felt incredibly long. Bai Ningbing, like a ghost breathing me in, only slowly let go after she'd had enough. Just then, the lights at the front brightened. A spotlight suddenly shone on me. The host excitedly shouted, "Wow! Amazing! It seems tonight's lucky guest has appeared. Our President Bai has personally walked to his seat. She's here to present him with tonight's special grand prize. This prize is truly extraordinary. First, you get to have dinner with the president. Second, you get to visit the president's office. And third, you get to see the luminous..." Hold on tight. Let's give him a round of applause. The applause from the entire venue was like thunder. crashing and booming nonstop. Bystanders cast their gazes over, some with sympathy, others seemingly wishing me good luck. At that moment, I was utterly bewildered. My mind screamed, "What kind of lucky guest is this? Doesn't it usually get decided by a draw?" The more I thought about it, the more something felt off. So I just said, "How about this? I'll give up this spot. Let everyone draw lots to add some excitement to tonight's event." At this, the host spoke up. "Wow, it seems our lucky gentleman tonight is so happy he's starting to talk nonsense." Immediately after, he shouted, "Quickly, have our bodyguard colleagues take him away to rest." Before I could even open my mouth to retort, 4 burly men in black, I don't know where they came from, suddenly appeared. They were all muscle, like small mountains, and instantly hoisted me up. They swiftly carried me out of the banquet hall. Looking back, Bai Ningbing was still sitting there, looking nonchalant. She leisurely adjusted her skirt. After a while, she finally stood up and said, "Proceed." Then I was invited by 2 bodyguards to Bai Ningbing's presidential office. I was even pressed down onto her office chair. As soon as I tried to get up, they firmly pressed down on my shoulders, forcing me back down. I tried to get up again, but was pushed back down again. I couldn't take it anymore. So I said, "What's with this whole charade? If Bai Ningbing wanted to kidnap me, she could have just done it directly, right? No one would dare say anything anyway." I figured I had to quickly clarify things. So I said, "There's the misunderstanding. Your President Bai and I are not the kind of relationship you're imagining. Actually, I'm her godfather. Or you can just think of me as her father, that works too." Before I could finish speaking, I heard a cold laugh from the doorway. The voice carried an icy, regal tone. "My father was sent to prison last year, and he's still locked up there." "Are you sure?" I heard. I suddenly looked up and saw Bai Ningbing standing there, her face devoid of expression. She coldly waved the 4 bodyguards out. The 4 bodyguards, like double-door refrigerators, all nodded in unison at her, then exited, and I was just so weak and pitiful and helpless, sitting in the office chair, not daring to move. I watched helplessly as Bai Ningbing walked towards me step by step. This CEO's office was on the 20-something floor, and outside the huge floor-to-ceiling window was the bustling, lively streetscape. Bai Ningbing walked unhurriedly while taking off the shawl over her dress. Then she started taking off her necklace, and then even her watch. When I saw this posture, my heart skipped a beat. I quickly sat up straight and urgently called out, "Bai Ningbing, what are you doing?" I've read the original novel, you know. Every time the female lead makes this move, it means she's about to do something bad. The next second, she stopped in front of me. Her hands rested on the armrests of the chair. Her face came very close. She said coldly, "Now you call me Bai Ningbing? Weren't you pretending not to know me at the event just now?" That fresh scent from her pressed directly towards me. Scared, I desperately shrank back. I stammered, No, I wasn't pretending not to know you. I was just passing by." "You look too rich now. How would I dare to acknowledge you?" Calling her Bai Ningbing clearly didn't work. She then said, "Don't hide, Fang Yuan." I could only respond with a She then asked, "Where have you been these past few years?" "After parting ways with you at the airport 3 years ago, I completely disappeared. I withdrew from my original world, thinking that Wu Ai-kun should be able to slowly make Bai Ningbing forget about me. During that time, I was either leisurely sunbathing by the sea or wildly clubbing in bars. In reality, I held a secret in my heart. Every day was like fleeing for my life, and I still had to secretly think of you." When Bai Ningbing heard this, her hand suddenly stopped. Just then, the system shouted at the top of its lungs, "Host! Bai Ningbing's darkening value has decreased by 1 point." Hearing this, I couldn't help but curse, "You rascal. I called you for ages just now and you didn't come out. Now you suddenly pop up. System, you must make sure the host keeps it up." To be honest, I really want to keep up the good work too, but I have no idea what Bai Ningbing is really thinking. I can't figure her out at all. I cautiously and softly asked her, "Bai Ningbing, how are you doing now? Are you okay?" Bai Ningbing just replied with a her tone inscrutable. I then asked, "Then have you seen Wu Ai-kun?" This question was a big mistake. The system shouted again, "Host! Bai Ningbing has darkened by another 10 points. I cursed angrily. "You're kidding me. How am I supposed to play this game now?" I quickly grabbed her sleeve and nervously explained, "It's not what you think. Wu Ai-kun is my distant cousin. Back then, after my parents went bankrupt, they went abroad. But my cousin and his family are still in the country. Now that I'm back, I just wanted to ask if you've seen my cousin." Bai Ningbing's lips curved slightly upwards. "Do you know that your cousin worked at my company?" I know. I nodded frantically. "I told him to come. I told him you're a really good person, and that following you would definitely bring him opportunities." Bai Ningbing suddenly reached out and squeezed my neck. Her hand was ice cold. Say that again. I said, you. Before I could finish my sentence, Bai Ningbing lowered her head again and bit my shoulder. Enough! Are you a dog? Bai Ningbing let out a cold laugh and answered evasively, Aren't you clear whether I'm a dog or not? You really went through a lot of trouble, disappearing without a trace yourself, and not forgetting to send a man to my side. After saying that, she released her grip and leaned back in the chair. You want to see Wu Ai-kun? That depends on your performance tonight. Perform well and make me happy. She let out a light, fierce hum. If I'm in a good mood, let alone one cousin, I can let you see 10. A yuan, the female lead, is a yandere. Once she gets carried away, she'll do anything irrational, like using ties, belts, or gloves. The original male lead had run away because of this too. But every time he was caught and brought back, he had to face even more intense punishments. By the time I came to my senses, Bai Ningbing had already taken me back to her place. It was a super large villa, brightly lit, perched on the hillside by the sea. There was nowhere to run even if I wanted to. She didn't say anything and just went straight to take a shower. I lay on her huge bed and my mind started to ponder things. The kind of performance she wanted. Surely it wasn't the same thing I was thinking, right? System, I can already see all those useless thoughts in your head. Anyway, there's no other way. Why don't you try it? Try my ass. The female lead is utterly devoted to the male lead. It has to be him. Now I've really messed up big time. What if she kills me in a fit of rage? I think even if you haven't completely messed things up yet, she probably still wants to kill you. The system suddenly popped up and said, Host, what did you say to Bai Ningbing in the car just now? Why has her blackening value been rising? Speaking of the car, she was expressionless, not moving at all, not saying a single word. I just kept rambling on, thinking things like, Did you argue with Wu Ai-kun? Guys' brains are actually quite simple. Just coax them a bit and it'll be fine. Why aren't you talking? Don't you know how to coax people? I can teach you. First say good boy for me to hear. Just as I was saying this, I heard the bathroom door creak open softly. Bai Ningbing, wrapped in a bath towel, her silhouette was imprinted on the glass. Host, you'd better pray to God to protect yourself. Hey, wait, don't leave, system! At this moment, Bai Ningbing turned off the bathroom light. She had already walked step by step in front of me. I was so nervous I didn't dare to breathe. I couldn't help but think, how can this person's figure be so ridiculously good? Her hair wasn't dry yet. Water droplets fell one by one, flowing down her neck into her rising and falling chest. She sat down on the edge of the bed, expressionless, and casually tossed a hairdryer over to me to dry her hair. I quickly sat up, turned on the hairdryer, and blew it a couple of times. I realized I couldn't quite reach the top of her head. Lower your head a bit. Bai Ningbing didn't speak, but she cooperatively lowered her head. Lower it more. She lowered it again, but I still couldn't reach. I was about to say, why don't you lie back? When the words hadn't even left my mouth, Bai Ningbing suddenly reached out and hugged me. Fang Yuan, she asked, why did you leave me? Why? Because I'm not the male lead. I shouldn't have been with you in the first place. I decided to just throw caution to the wind, because I don't like you. I waited for 2 seconds, but surprisingly, I didn't hear the system's prompt. That's strange. Why didn't that make her blackening value rise? Bai Ningbing just quietly lay on my shoulder, not saying a word. I tentatively tried again, because I have no money. I'm not worthy of you. The system still didn't react. Fine, I said loudly, because of Wu Ai-kun. Host, the female lead's blackening value is skyrocketing again. No way. So that means the one who makes her blackening value skyrocket is Wu Ai-kun? In the end, Bai Ningbing didn't do anything that night. She didn't ask me to blow dry her hair again. She just quietly held my waist and slept. The next morning, when I opened my eyes, I found that no one was on the bed. I went downstairs. As soon as the maids saw me, they greeted me very gently. Good morning, sir. Good morning, sir. How did you sleep last night? I was stunned at the time. A huge question mark seemed to pop up above my head. Sir? Who are you calling, sir? Are you mistaken? Don't just call people that. The maids still had that gentle look. Yes, sir. What would you like for breakfast? I casually said, some lobster and crab and a steamed grouper. Half an hour later, I was sitting in the dining room, happily eating. I was already on my 5th crab when Bai Ningbing returned. I thought all night, but I still couldn't figure out why the male lead would make the female lead's blackening value skyrocket. So I didn't really want to talk to her at the moment. I just sat there without moving. As soon as Bai Ningbing returned, she took off her coat and walked straight towards me. Fang Yuan, she said, she continued, change your clothes. Come with me to a wedding this afternoon. I couldn't help but retort, you're a CEO now. Isn't it easy to find someone to go to a wedding with you? Who am I anyway? Why do you insist on me accompanying you? Anyway, I wasn't afraid of her blackening anymore, no matter what I said, so I just started talking back to her randomly. Fine. Bai Ningbing sneered. The person I like doesn't care for me. Are you going or not? If you don't, I'll break your legs. All right, all right. I obediently went to change into a suit. In the evening, I accompanied her to the banquet hall. On the way, I rolled down the car window. Wow. The sunset was so beautiful. The sea breeze carried a hint of dampness. I was so relaxed that I didn't notice Bai Ningbing behind me staring at me. Suddenly, the system prompted, Host, the female lead's blackening value has decreased. I thought, what's so special about that? It's just another -1. It rises by tens or hundreds every time, but only decreases by 1 or 2 points. What's the use of that? Then the system said again, No, it's been decreasing ever since you changed your clothes. It's been decreasing ever since you changed your clothes. A guess suddenly popped into my head. I quickly turned around. When Bai Ningbing saw me turn around, she lazily lifted her eyelids and glanced at me. Before she could react, I suddenly grabbed her hand. Are you cold? Then I intertwined our fingers. At this moment, even the system was shocked. Holy crap. Her blackening value suddenly decreased by 30. Bai Ningbing clearly froze for a moment, but she didn't pull her hand away. She averted her gaze and spoke. I heard that and laughed. It's 28 degrees Celsius today. Why would you be cold? Then I said with a smile, Then I'll hold your hand, and you won't be cold anymore. Bai Ningbing pursed her lips and didn't speak. We walked the entire way, just like that, holding hands. Half an hour later, the Cullinan stopped at the entrance of the banquet hall. I let go of her hand just as I was about to get out of the car. When I suddenly thought of something, I turned back and said to her, Oh, right, Bai Ningbing. I unexpectedly leaned towards her in one swift motion. She never expected me to do that. She was completely startled. Fortunately, I stopped just barely in front of her. I looked at her and said, Oh dear, your clothes are all wrinkled. Let me help you tidy them up. As I spoke, my hands gently rested on her shoulders. Slowly, I helped her tidy the long hair around her collar. At this moment, our breaths were intertwined. Bai Ningbing's body completely stiffened. She didn't dare to breathe. Suddenly, the system's voice rang out in my mind. Host, the heroine's blackening value has dropped by 80. Wow, this drop is truly delightful. Delightful, my ass. I thought to myself, could this really be possible? My previous guess actually came true. Now I can finally relax. But I also completely gave up hope. The person Bai Ningbing likes is actually me. Bai Ningbing was my first target after I bound to the system, the first mission target I encountered. My mission was to establish correct values for her, so she could feel the warmth of the human world and not grow up to be a psycho. That was the only goal, nothing else. So I always paid attention to boundaries and always kept my distance from her. I hadn't done anything too out of line. The only slightly excessive thing, I guess, was when I hugged her goodbye. She couldn't possibly have fallen for me just because of one hug, could she? My mind was full of questions. Just like that, I followed Bai Ningbing into the banquet hall. As soon as I entered, my jaw dropped. I couldn't help but curse, holy crap. Bai Ningbing, however, looked calm. She asked me what was wrong. I pointed at the names on the wedding photo, stuttering, Wu Ai-kun is getting married! The groom is actually Wu Ai-kun. You brought me here today? To attend Wu Ai-kun's wedding? Bai Ningbing seemed unfazed by this. She replied, Otherwise? I immediately exploded. Shouldn't he be marrying you? I shouted that quite loudly. Everyone around us was startled. They turned their heads, didn't recognize me, but immediately recognized Bai Ningbing. They all gathered around to greet her. Hello, President Bai. How have you been lately? Bai's stock has risen again. It's all thanks to President Bai's excellent management. Bai Ningbing was expressionless, simply nodding in response. NN. My husband is doing very well. He takes very good care of me. I couldn't help but mutter softly. You're quite good at turning things around. Then I quietly leaned closer to her again. The husband you're talking about wouldn't happen to be me, would it? Bai Ningbing glanced at me sideways. That look was like she was looking at an idiot. Is there something wrong with your brain? Well, wasn't I just humiliating myself? I could only silently shrink back. The wedding began, and I followed Bai Ningbing to the main table. I hadn't met anyone at the table before, but they didn't seem too curious either. Their gazes at me were filled with approval and, blessings. When it was time for toasts, I proactively pulled Wu Ai-kun aside. Wu Ai-kun, dressed in a suit, stood beside the female second lead, who was also a bug in the original novel, but whose temper was 1,000,000 times better than Bai Ningbing's. They both looked quite affectionate. He was startled when I pulled him, then smiled at me. Hello there. Are you President Bai's husband? President Bai often mentions you. You're even more handsome than she described. That statement carried too much information. I quickly pulled him aside. How could I be President Bai's husband? You're President Bai's husband. Wu Aikun looked bewildered. He wasn't a strategist or anything like that. He had no memory of this novel at all. I tried to explain to him, you know Bai Ningbing, right? Every time you see her, don't you feel deeply drawn to her? As if your souls are intertwined, and every cell in your body is screaming to be close to her? The original male lead had this exact feeling for the female lead. He couldn't bear to be apart from her for a moment. Wu Aikun thought for a long while. His expression was quite serious. There really was such a phase. It was like he was possessed. But it passed quickly. Why? Because Bai Ningbing was too fierce. She was truly terrifying. Wu Aikun sighed. I was her assistant for a month. At first, I found her incredibly attractive, but later I discovered that her temper was terrifyingly bad. I accidentally spilled water on her prayer beads. She immediately flared up and told me to get lost. She even asked if I had any designs on her, saying she was waiting for her husband to return. During that time, I had nightmares every day. I didn't even dare to enter the office. I was truly at my wit's end. So I went to consult a master. The master said, there's a mysterious, irresistible force between President Bai and you. It will repeatedly entangle you, but it will only worsen things. But don't be afraid. Such eerie things can be broken. He gave me many charms. As he spoke, he rolled up his sleeve, revealing 8 gleaming strings of crystals. The master also gave me this. I've been wearing it ever since. After that, I successfully resigned and stayed far away from President Bai. I even found someone I love. I was completely stunned when I heard this. What even is this? One form of mysticism defeating another? But now it doesn't matter anymore. Wu Aikun grabbed me and said with a smile, you're back! President Bai's temper will definitely improve. After all, during the days you were gone, President Bai longed for you every single day. In Wu Aikun's eyes, this is how things were. Bai Ningbing was his boss. He was inexplicably drawn to her at first, but it wasn't long before he discovered that President Bai was only strong in her work ability, and her temper was absolutely explosive. She also constantly had her husband on her lips. Couldn't go 3 sentences without mentioning him. She'd casually tell subordinates, my husband doesn't let me hit people, so slap yourself. To other women, she'd say, my husband has raised my standards too high. You're too ugly, hurry and leave. To competitors, she'd say, my husband told me to talk less to idiots. Wu Aikun even noted down in his little notebook that President Bai was a love-struck fool. But not long after, he discovered that in the company, hardly anyone had ever seen President Bai's husband. So he began to doubt President Bai's husband. Does such a person really exist? Could it be like Liu Ruyan, just a figment of her imagination? Then he accidentally spilled water on Bai Ningbing's prayer beads and was severely scolded. The next day, he was feeling down. When? Bai Ningbing emotionlessly called him to come over. Wu Aikun cautiously walked into the CEO's office. As soon as he entered, he saw President Bai sitting there with a cold expression. Then she said coldly and loudly, I'm sorry, Wu Aikun. Wu Aikun was a bit bewildered. He saw Bai Ningbing's expression was somewhat unnatural. She then continued, my husband doesn't let me swear at people. I scolded you yesterday, so I'm apologizing. Wu Aikun... But she paused. Then continued, I also consulted a master yesterday. That master said you and I have a fated connection from a past life. We're a match made in heaven, but I already have a lover. It's impossible for me to be with you. To avoid my husband misunderstanding us later, from today onwards, I will implement new regulations. Company employees are not allowed to mention your name anymore. If you still want to work here, you'll have to bear with it. If you don't want to, I'll give you N+6 compensation and you can leave. Wu Aikun listened and said, President Bai, I quit. But I have one more humble request. Where did you find that master? Could you introduce me as well? Let me go see him. After that, Wu Aikun quickly went to see the master. After handling his resignation, he met the female second lead. Soon he fell deeply in love with her. Wu Aikun told the female second lead, my wife and President Bai are good friends. I only found out after I started dating my wife that President Bai's husband truly has a special connection. The female second lead took out an old sketch from her phone to show him. She said, Ice drew this. I don't know when she drew it. The boy in the drawing was wearing a blue and white school uniform short-sleeve shirt, sleeping on a desk. The window wasn't closed, and the practice paper under his cheek rustled in the wind. His gel pen had rolled onto the floor. It was summer then, cicadas chirping, and outside there were endless green camphor trees. The female second lead told Wu Aikun, this is Ice's husband. Wu Aikun quickly asked, where is he now? The female second lead shook her head. I don't know. They broke up, but I don't know how to explain it. That boy disappeared as if he vanished. Searched for a long time but couldn't find him. I wonder if that boy will ever come back. The female second lead thought for a moment. He also said Ice is working so hard now, putting in so much overtime, and always drinking, determined to make Bai's business big. He guessed it was because she hoped that one day, that boy would turn around and see her. That boy's name is Fang Yuan. He might come back tomorrow, or he might never come back. But Bai Ningbing would always be here, always waiting. After hearing all this, my heart felt like it was fiercely clutched by something. So in these 3 years we were apart, Bai Ningbing had been waiting for me. Even if there was no hope at all, even if she found a master fortune teller, they probably would have figured out that I was someone from another world. After saying goodbye to Wu Ai-kun, I returned to where Bai Ningbing was. Her aura was truly too cold. Everyone around had gotten up to toast, and no one dared to linger near her. I called out to Bai Ningbing, and she lazily lifted her eyelids. Finished talking with my cousin? I then asked her, "Do you like me? If you still say I'm crazy, then there won't be a next time. I'll immediately go back to Los Angeles to beg for food." Bai Ningbing closed her mouth and said nothing. When did you start liking me? Why didn't you tell me? I pondered. Is it because my souffle was so delicious? Or because when you were wrongly accused by the teacher of stealing something? Only I stood up to help you, huh? Maybe you just simply think I'm handsome. Even Wu Ai-kun praised my looks. Bai Ningbing's face darkened. Why don't you go ask Wu Ai-kun? I see you quite like him. I ignored her for 3 sentences. He is indeed quite endearing. Cute, isn't he? Oh! My face was suddenly pinched by her. All right, I won't talk about him anymore. I instantly turned into a flatterer. You're the cutest, you're the cutest! She pinched harder. Ow, I can't even speak properly. I don't like him, I like you the most. Bai Ningbing couldn't help but smile. Her hand loosened a bit. Then she leaned in and kissed my face. It was like a dragonfly touching the water. The warmth touched and then left. My earlobes instantly flushed red. The whole world knows I like you. Only you don't know. She said it fiercely, but it wasn't really threatening. She added, once the seal is stamped, you're mine. Fang Yuan, 23 years old, just as I guessed. In the 3rd year after I left, the desperate Bai Ningbing found that master fortune teller. After seeing her, the master asked, "Do you believe in fate?" Bai Ningbing shook her head. The master said, "That's right then. You are a child of destiny. You don't need to care about anyone else's fate. But I lost my beloved. He's not from this world. He won't come back." Bai Ningbing was silent for a long time. Her lips turned pale before she finally said, "All right." She shakily stood up. The master quickly stopped her, reaching out like Kong. But if you pay more, there's a way." A few months later, at the annual meeting, I appeared beside her as if falling from the sky, 24 years old. On the way back, the night flowed like water. I fiddled with the fake ring on Bai Ningbing's hand and asked her, "So, starting 3 years ago, you told everyone in the company that I was your husband? And you even showed them my photo, right? You've secretly liked me for a long time, yet you didn't even dare to say you liked me. At the annual meeting, you conspired with so many people, just to trick an innocent young man like me. Aren't you ashamed?" Bai Ningbing raised her head and suddenly bit my lip. The kiss came too suddenly. When she let go, my mind instantly went blank. I stammered, "Where was I just now?" She said with certainty, "You were talking about why you disappeared for 3 whole years. Oh, right. Do you know about the system? I'm actually someone who has already died. In my original world, I was long dead. After I died, I got bound to this system. The mission reward was to live a few more years." Bai Ningbing listened quietly the whole time. After I finished speaking, I thought she would ask me if during the time I was conquering her, I had fallen for her, but she didn't ask. She was silent for a while, before softly asking, "These 3 years we were apart. How have you been? Did Auntie really owe people a lot of money? Did the creditors find you?" I quickly shook my head. "No, I've been doing well." Bai Ningbing looked at me deeply. Suddenly, she softly said, Yuan, I went to Los Angeles to look for you, but I couldn't find your family. However, I found a relative of yours. At first, he said he didn't know where you were. In a fit of rage, I beat him up. He then changed his story, saying your parents owed too much money, and sold you off as collateral, 100 packs each time. I didn't believe it at all. So I broke 2 more of his fingers. Then I turned the red light district upside down, but I still couldn't find you. It was from that moment on, I started to use Baishi, those hidden illicit forces. Step by step, I became the whitehead that everyone fears today. I hugged her tightly. He lied to you. I'm really fine. The world I was in was similar to this one, except it didn't have you. Bai Ningbing couldn't help but smile. She asked me, Yuan, do you like me? I hesitated for half a second. then nodded frantically. Yes, I do! I've liked you since I first met you in our student days. But you were the male lead. Back then I studied, attended classes, and did self-study with you. Played basketball games with you. Every time you came close to me, it felt like a countdown was ticking in my heart, thinking that you would soon return to the male lead's side. And in a few years, you would forget about me. Someone better would surely appear by your side. Why would you need someone like me who's like a clown? As I thought about it, I became sad again. I reached out and pinched Bai Ningbing's face. Luckily, Wu Ai-kun didn't like you. Otherwise, how would I ever have a chance to be with you? Wu Ai-kun is truly an angel. Bai Ningbing smiled and bit my lip again. Try mentioning Wu Ai-kun one more time. That night, back at her villa, I couldn't sleep at all. I stayed up all night, until dawn was approaching. I looked at Bai Ningbing and couldn't help but ask, what's wrong with you? Why are you even jealous of Wu Ai-kun? We haven't seen each other for 3 years, and you don't even ask how I've been. The first thing you do is talk about Wu Ai-kun this, Wu Ai-kun that. She scoffed and reached out to pull my tie. She even reached her hand over, but I didn't move. As a result, she dragged me over with one pull. Bai Ningbing unhurriedly pretended to recall, that year at the airport. What did you say again? You said you were going to buy me strawberries. It's been 3 years now, and there's not even a shadow of those strawberries. After saying that, she chuckled softly, then continued. But it's fine. We can grow our own, right? Her fingers slowly moved downwards, and she softly said, they can appear on your neck, your waist, and... My head buzzed. I slept incredibly soundly. When I woke up, the sunlight was bright. Looking out the floor-to-ceiling window, the sea was wide and calm. Just then, the system prompted me. Host, the heroine's blackening value was reset to 0 this morning. I casually brushed it off. The system hesitated, then asked me, Host, do you plan to stay in this world? My mind slowly calmed down. I knew clearly that every time I completed a mission, the system would reward me with 10 years of life. If I stayed here, I probably wouldn't live much longer. So I said, no hurry. Let me think about it some more. In the evening, Bai Ningbing returned home and rushed straight to the bedroom, calling out, a UN! Finding I wasn't there, she went to the balcony, still calling, a UN! Still not finding me, Bai Ningbing asked the maid, where is Mr.? The maid replied, Mr. went out for a bit this afternoon? I didn't notice if he came back or not, Bai Ningbing asked again, then turned and walked out, making a call. She was still calling out, a UN! Just as the phone rang twice, the sound of the living room door opening came. As soon as I entered the house, before I could react, I felt a small figure whoosh, rushing into my arms. Where did you go? Bai Ningbing's voice was choked. She hugged me tightly, her head buried in my chest, not moving for a long time. I gently patted her and said, ice, ice. I didn't leave. But any explanation was useless. Her voice was tearful. You went out without even calling me to come along? She couldn't even say threatening words. I found it both amusing and a little heartbreaking. I lowered my head and kissed her cheek, saying, I won't leave. I went to buy something for you. As I spoke, I pointed to the cage at my feet, where a small corgi was panting, hiss huff, hiss huff. I was thinking, why not just get you a dog? Look, maybe it'll live longer than me. Bai Ningbing, you look so lonely. Don't be so alone anymore. Do you know? In my original world, I was burned to death. Our house was on fire then. My parents could only take one person. They ended up taking my younger brother, but not me. It's strange, really. My family was actually quite wealthy. My parents were usually quite open-minded. But ever since I was little, whether at school or at home, I never seemed to be the one who was decisively chosen. Before I met Bai Ningbing, I never even imagined that there would be someone always waiting for me. Even if the male lead was right beside her, she was still waiting for me. So even if I live a few years less, it doesn't seem like a big deal. As I hugged the corgi, I felt that these 10 years with you are worth 80 years with anyone else. Bai Ningbing was silent for a while. Then she asked me, can I talk to your system? The system immediately popped up, saying, of course you can. My esteemed child of destiny. Bai Ningbing stared at the air and said word by word, I want to share 49% of my lifespan. The system asked, are you sure, Bai Ningbing? She replied, you decide how to divide it. Anyway, I have to live one day longer than him. I was quite touched at first, but hearing that I couldn't help but laugh. I said, what are you doing? Making it sound so dramatic and meaningful? Bai Ningbing gave me a deep look and didn't say anything. The system then said, all righty. Lifespan settings will be adjusted immediately. After saying that, it went offline. At this moment in the vast living room, the setting sun's light spread out over the shimmering sea. The little corgi barked excitedly. I leaned over and hugged Bai Ningbing. She hugged me back. After a long while, she said in a muffled voice, "Watching your loved one leave. That feeling is too painful and too lonely, Yuan. If we must face death someday, next time let me be the one to stay and watch you go." From that day on, the system never appeared again. Bai Ningbing and I both had a very open mindset about it. If we can live, we'll live well. If not, there's nothing we can do. It doesn't matter anymore. But President Bai still lacked a sense of security. She had already paid off all the money my parents owed and redeemed all the houses mortgaged to the court. But she still felt uneasy. One night, in the middle of the night, she suddenly woke up from a dream, calling out, "Fang Yuan!" I groggily rubbed my eyes and mumbled, Bai Ningbing said seriously, "I've transferred all the money and stocks under my name to you." I was startled and said, "It's 3 in the morning. What are you doing?" She said, "Didn't you disappear last time because you had no money? I'm giving you all my money. If you still want to leave next time, don't use that excuse again." A week later, looking at the long string of numbers in my account, I thought, fine by me. Whatever makes you happy. Other than that, nothing much happened. Every day passed uneventfully. Until the wedding day. Bai Ningbing was waiting in the next room for me to change. I was lost in thought when suddenly I heard a soft ding in my mind again. It was the system's voice. "Host, there's something I forgot to tell you. Our mission has a basic level and an advanced level. The basic level rewards 10 years of lifespan. The advanced level reward is 10 times that of the basic level." I listened and asked, "What's the basic mission?" The system paused and said, "The basic mission is to make Bai Ningbing a normal person." Then it added, "The advanced mission is to make both Bai Ningbing and Wu Aikun happy." I was stunned. Inadvertently, I glanced towards the doorway, where Bai Ningbing stood. Her black hair cascaded like a waterfall. She was wearing a white long dress, holding a bouquet, looking just like a teenage girl. I remembered back in school. During a break, she also woke me up with an impatient look. "Class is starting. Wake up." After saying that, her gaze shifted, but she couldn't help but secretly watch me. At this moment, the system said sourly, "So there you have it. You two just live your lives to the fullest. My 2 living parents." In this bright spring day, I adjusted my cuffs, walked towards her, and called out, "Bing, bing!" She turned her head and smiled softly, saying Fang Yuan winter was so long. "You walked such a long way and no one loved you. But I'm here. I've always been waiting for you, and I'll wait for you forever."